I'm Connor Old, and this is Old Oscar Countdown. We're back again in the dorm room, which is the usual sort of thing now that you'll have to see. Fortunately, the lighting of the last episode wasn't great, but if you're back, you're back. You love the show, you love the passion. I do what I can with the sort of space I've got. I hope today's a little bit better. But if you're new to the series, I'm Connor Old, and what I do every single week is I break down a new Oscar category, and I guess and sort of predict what I think is going to win for the 2018 Oscars. Now we do start a little bit early in the season. You may be thinking, oh, aren't the Oscars in March? Yes, but I actually guess the Oscar nominations, which lead up all the way into January, and then to keep things relevant, I've sort of decided to do this new episode, this new thing of my series. It is called Connor's Corner here. So what I essentially do at the top of the show to keep things relevant, I just talk about some rising movies, some falling movies. One rising movie that has sort of cemented its lead, similar to Get Out last year, is three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I think it cemented itself as a great Best Picture thing. You know, people are worried, oh, Seven Psychopaths, oh, in Bruges, people going into Toronto weren't seeing this movie as necessarily Oscar play, but because of how well it did, it actually won TIFF's People's Choice Awards, which is a huge thing for them. I remember talking about that in the Best Picture episode, how critical that really is for them. So that really cemented them. Now people are even talking about Martin McDonagh for Best Director. Frances McDormand is a solid lock, I think, right now, Best Actress. And really, this movie that wasn't necessarily sure, like, I think, possibly you're looking at the critics groups, like, it's an interesting year this year. It could go to this, it could go to something like The Shape of Water, but this is definitely a movie I can see with the critics really loving. So if you get the critics side on there, and you get the People's Choice audience thing, it's almost a shoo-in for the Oscar nomination for Best Picture, along with some other nominations, including Best Original Screenplay, possibly even Best Director, Best Actress, so that should be a good one. Another rising movie is I, Tonya. This had a sort of late distribution because it got picked up in Toronto and is now sort of gathering around that Oscar push. So you're looking at Allison Janney, which I will be talking about later, who was, always been a sort of a front runner, but now you're seeing things like even I, Tonya for Best Picture, and maybe possibly something like a score, or the number one thing that people are talking about is maybe Margot Robbie. Right now she's not in my top 5, but she's gaining steam, so we'll see how the performance of I, Tonya does at the end of it. And then falling, really Wonder Wheel. It didn't get any Gotham Awards. The sexual harassment thing is still sort of brewing, and that's not going to help Woody Allen anyway, because he's always been in sort of that conversation before, and even something like Griffin Newman, actor and host of Blank Check podcast, was just on his new film. In his new film, and he said he's donating all of his money to charity because he sort of knows and sort of can tell that, Woody Allen is not this guy, whatever, that he sort of maybe portrays himself. There's a lot of uncertainties, but he sort of is that guy that people maybe are saying that he is. So with that, plus the things, that I don't think the strength of Wonder Wheel is going to carry it through, even though it might be a movie with good cinematography and a good performance by Kate Winslet. Best Actress is pretty competitive right now, and go to, I think, other movies that have better chances in other categories, something like Jessica Chastain. You have the adapted screenplay, or I, Tonya, if Margot Robbie gets in. She has Allison Janney, and even possibly Best Picture. So you have these little things that add up. But that's the top of the show. Let's move over into what I consider my number one choice right now, the best odds to get in for Best Supporting Actor nomination. We have for Lady Bird. Now, when people think of Lady Bird, all I'm hearing right now is Greta Gerwig and Saoirse Ronan, because Greta Gerwig, I don't think is in the movie, but she's an actress, and she wrote this movie and directed it. This is her directorial debut. So I think this is a movie that was really behind the power of Greta Gerwig, a force that people really respect for a long time, and finally she's made Lady Bird, and I've only heard great things. And the thing is that when everyone talks about Saoirse Ronan, they're also talking about her mom. This is like a sort of a type coming of age almost story, where Saoirse Ronan is sort of the teenage girl, and her mom is played by Laurie Metcalf. She's done very well in TV with the Golden Globes, even won a Tony, so I think she's sort of recognized for that award sense. She delivers a great performance here. I still believe in the strength of Lady Bird. Some people don't. Some people can interchange this and Florida Project. But I think based on stars and even possibly director, I think Greta Gerwig could get in for Lady Bird. Greta Gerwig could get in for Best Director for Lady Bird, and that pushes Lady Bird's chances as a whole. Maybe we're overestimating it. Maybe it's just sort of a small indie movie that maybe the critics like. Didn't perform very well at the Gotham Awards. We'll see, though. but she's definitely the number 2 lead if there was the lead. And I think Lady Bird has the strength, and all I'm hearing is how great her performance is. So if anything, Lady Bird, I think this is their strongest chance right now. All right, so we're into number 2 pick, which is Allison Janney, I, Tonya. Allison Janney, I, Tonya. Okay, this is sort of a pick where I think she cemented. These first 2 are pretty good for locks. Maybe even one of my later choices, my 4th choice, are a little bit more of a lock, but I think I, Tonya is sort of getting that steam. If anything, this is going to be their only nomination, and sort of I've heard only great things. As once again, same with Laurie Metcalf, a mother figure. So not the mother figure, a mother. So I think it's going to be the battle of the mothers. Of course, here she seems like she's dying or she's sick or something. She has the sort of the old makeup on. Allison Janney doesn't look that real old. She's an older woman, but she's not that old. I think she really, if Margot Robbie has such a great performance, I think Allison Janney can sort of combat with that. And I think, from what I'm hearing, I, Tonya, even though it had a sort of a late pickup at TIFF and sort of a distribution that's starting to pick up, they're going to go for that Oscar push. I think this is their best chance right now. And of course, Allison Janney has been recognized previously before into the TV world. She's sort of an acclaimed TV actress. To see her transition sort of over to film, she's been doing film for a while, but in terms of recognition in film, I think people really enjoy her. Similar to that Laurie Metcalf effect, where both of them are good TV actresses. Laurie Metcalf won a Tony, so these are sort of people who are in the loop tangentially enough to be. They know the award circuit. They know how to get awards, and I think Allison Janney right now can pull off quite an impressive campaign. The interesting thing, though, is that really, and I look at this category right now, it's like a lot of the supporting actors aren't from movies that have a lot of power or sort of role, except for one, that are sort of guaranteed for Best Picture. So we sort of wonder, like, ooh, it's going to be an interesting year this year if I, Tonya doesn't get in, and possibly Lady Bird doesn't get in. Then we're looking at sort of a field of who really, not based on the movie, who has maybe the more passionate fan base of that movie, or who has the best performance, which I hope it always is, but sometimes you never know. And if it does get the only nominations, fans will definitely push for it. And old sort of a short hair, glasses, looks like she's dying. Like, it seems sort of Oscar-y, not just a typical thing, sort of more of that transformation. So I definitely could see her getting the win right now, but I'm not sure because I put Laurie Metcalf ahead of her just because I think Lady Bird has a little more strength. So over into my next pick, which is Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. The thing is that I think she's going to get through the wave of the water. See what I did there? The Shape of Water wave, the sort of thing that's going to push The Shape of Water. You just get a bunch of nominations. I really believe in that movie getting a lot of nominations. I'm not sure how much it's going to win, but I'm talking about, actor, supporting actress, best supporting actor. If anything, it doesn't get anything, it's probably going to be best supporting actrors for, there we go, Octavia Spencer, The Shape of Water. But we saw last year with Hidden Figures, people were expecting Janelle Monáe to get the nomination, but instead it went to Octavia Spencer. Octavia's won before for The Help. She got nominated last year for Hidden Figures. I think she's definitely going to carry the wave of the film. The one problem I have with it is that The Shape of Water seems like an ensemble film. Not only do you have the 2 romantic leads in Doug Jones and Sally Hawkins, you also have Michael Shannon and Richard Jenkins and Octavia Spencer. So it's like people are campaigning right now for Richard Jenkins for Best Supporting Actor and Octavia Spencer for Best Supporting Actress. I think the Academy really loves her, and if she campaigns and really believes in this movie and wants to get nominated again, I think she will. The chances of her winning, not too sure about, but people really love The Shape of Water, and I think that love is going to go to Best Actress, getting the nomination for Best Director. I think it's going to go do very well, but I don't think Octavia is going to necessarily get the win. So maybe if Richard Jenkins and Sally Hawkins get the push, Octavia sort of will get left behind. But I think the nomination is a possibility. I learned last year not to count Octavia, and I'm not doing it this year. All right, number 4 is Holly Hunter and The Big Sick. I have seen this movie because she does a great performance in this. It didn't blow me away because I've heard of the buzz before going into it, but she does have some really funny lines. She does play this sort of, once again, a mother. She just, she's not the mother of the main protagonist. She's the, I guess, mother-in-law, but not at the time, sort of the girlfriend's mom to Kumail Nanjiani, and that interesting relationship. And she has definitely a great character arc, which is very visible, and you could see it. So you can say something like, oh, she clearly starts off, not liking this guy, then she learns to appreciate this guy, so she can see that visible character arc. She has some great lines. Her Oscar clip, if she does get nominated, will be sort of fierce for sure. I know they love her for the piano. She's been nominated many times before, won before with the piano. So I think that for The Big Sick, it's not going to get in anywhere else except for this. So I think the fans of The Big Sick, which are strong, one of the highest reviewed movies of the year, will support Holly Hunter and say, you know what, I'll say, you know, Big Sick, Holly Hunter, you did a great job. You're sort of the acclaimed actress in this movie with, you know, Ray Romano, who's sort of like an oddball comedian nowadays, and Kumail Nanjiani, a rising comedian, and so Kazan, sort of these indie type people. Holly Hunter is sort of the big name, and I think if anything, for The Big Sick, a big name, ironically, because of how small the movie it is going to get in. But as long as something, you know, is in there, who knows? The only negative in this year is that Allison Janney could be the sort of the, because we have Octavia Spencer, Shape of Water is going to get nominated. I'm saying Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird is going to get nominated. Now you're moving to these 3s and 4s with, you know, 4 with Holly Hunter, where if Allison Janney gets in and Antonia doesn't get nominated, and then say something Melissa Leo from Novatate slips in, and Mary J Blige for Mudbound, then you're saying like, okay, there's only so many spots for one movie, sort of these individual movies that only get one nomination. The performance has to be phenomenal. However, I think Holly Hunter has the sort of staying power. She stayed in there so far. She was at number 1, number 2 at one point. She's since sort of slipped down, but not by much, in my mind at least, because other people just come up, but that doesn't mean she's got knocked down necessarily. That's the way I view it. And my number 5 pick is Mary J Blige for Mudbound. You look at this and you're like, wow, is that Mary J Blige? Yes, Mary J Blige, the pop star. I've seen this movie. She does a complete transformation. It's really her quietness and her ability to show things with those glasses. You can almost see through those glasses. You can just see part of her eyes. Has just a great sort of fierceness. She has the typical Oscar role in the typical type Oscar movie where she's quiet. She's sort of, you know, not normal, but like a typical sort of character, and then she has her one moment that she sort of breaks out, and once again she's a mother, she's a supporting figure. So really this theme here is the moms and the supporting actresses. I went this instead of something like my possibles because I wasn't sure. I'll explain my possible reasons for later, but I think Mudbound could have possibly a couple nominations. I think it's going to get in for Best Adapted Screenplay, which could also push Mary J Blige for Mudbound. And if she campaigns, she can show like people don't even realize this is Mary J Blige, which is a negative and a good thing. You know, she's the pop star, and now she's just a sort of huge transformation. The Oscars really appreciate something like that, but I think it might have gone over too many people's heads, and maybe Mudbound isn't a movie that people want to support because it's Netflix. Who knows? I don't really think that's going to come into it, but I think Mary J Blige is on that cusp right now, but I put her instead of my other possibles for reasons I will not explain. So my possible number 1 is Melissa Leo Novatate. A lot of people have her in her top 5. Some people even have her in her top 1, probably because her performance is incredible. The problem is, Novatate. I haven't heard anything about it. It's getting 0 Oscar buzz, aside from Melissa Leo. So that's going to be really hard. You know, say Allison Janney gets in, which I think she will for Antonia, and Antonia doesn't get Best Picture, and maybe gets one other nomination. A relatively small film. Or Holly Hunter with Big Sick only gets 1 nomination. At least they were in the conversation. The Big Sick is in the conversation for Best Adapted Screenplay. Antonia's in the conversation for Best Picture. Let's leave for Novatate, or I don't even know how to pronounce it. Novatate, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to call it Novatate. I haven't heard it anywhere. No one's really talking about this movie at all, aside from her performance. They do like her before she was won for The Fighter. You know, they do sort of recognize her and her talent, and maybe they'll see it just because it is Melissa Leo. However, I don't think that's going to push them over the edge. I just think no one's going to go out of their way to see Novatate and recognize her, because no one's going to see it, and then she's not going to win it, and there's no point. She's already won before. There's too many negatives in the scenario where I just think not enough people see the movie, which may be a shame. You know, maybe I'll really like this movie. I haven't seen it, but I've heard nothing about this aside from Melissa Leo. And, you know, I don't know. I don't think she's going to get in ultimately. And my final possible is Kristin Scott Thomas for Darkest Hour. So she does put on sort of the wig and the makeup and looks old like Gary Oldman. She is the main female counterpart to Gary Oldman, but the problem I'm wondering is the Gary Oldman show. I really believe that in Darkest Hour, people are going to push for Gary Oldman. He's going to win for Best Actor, but it's going to hinder the movie and it's going to hinder some of the other performances that maybe should have got deserved. I think Kristin Scott Thomas does a great job in Darkest Hour. I haven't seen it. I've heard great things though, and if anything, she's sort of like the Octavia Spencer, where she gets carried by the wave that is the Darkest Hour. But I think right now Gary Oldman's overshining it too much, where she's probably going to get left out of the nominations, and it'll go to someone the wave sort of pick will go, I'm picking Octavia Spencer because she's a little bit more not known in that sense. Okay, guys, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite, nominations all were. Next week, I think we're going to do Best Director, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm sorry for the setup. I'm trying to fix it as much as I can, but I'm limited, of course, in terms of the amount of lighting I can actually use, which is a bummer. But let me know in your comments below if this is better than last week. Maybe some recommendations of how to do anything. Like the video, comment below. Let me know all the stuff. I want to create a great film community. I do respond to comments, so that's an awesome time. But anyways, I'm Connor Old, and until next time, stay tuned.